So I recently rewatched Fairy Tail for the first time in nearly a decade. The reason was because I was a little worried that I might not like the show after 100 Year Quest ended. That ended up thankfully not being the case, and I still love Fairy Tail. I want to talk about everything that I really enjoyed about Fairy Tail as well as some of the things that I disliked and really just talk about my experience watching this anime. So let's get into this right now. So first, I want to talk about Fairy Tail Zero. This is a really good prequel series to the original Fairy Tail. This whole show is about how the Fairy Tail Guild was formed. We see how each of the founding members met each other and how they each formed the guild. We also get to see the connection between the first master Mavis and one of the main antagonists of the show, Zareth. This show is really interesting and sets up a lot for the final season before we really get started with the fun. So there are a few themes that Fairy Tail covers. One of the most important is found family. The entire Fairy Tail Guild is one giant family. Most of them aren't related by blood, but that doesn't matter. They are still a giant family. You can see that in how they all interact with each other. This is more than just friendship. They accept people and they grow as well. The source of the strength of all of the characters is their connections to the people in the guild. It's how they grow stronger and how they keep that strength. When it comes to found family, there is no other anime better at displaying it than Fairy Tail. So obviously, friendship is a really big part of Fairy Tail. Not only are the guild members all friends and basically family, but we also see the friendships form from outside of the guild as well. We see how friendships can help all the characters get stronger. We see how you can have friends outside of a normal guild and how that's okay. There are so many different friendships formed throughout the show that it is really cool to see some of the matchups that happen because of it. But yeah, friendship is a really big part of this anime, and that it is actually a big criticism that I want to talk about later because I think it's stupid. Everybody has a purpose in their lives. I know it can be hard to figure out what that is because nobody ever tells you what it is. Life is a consistent journey of figuring out what that purpose is. You can settle for the answer you are looking for and make a good life, or you can keep searching endlessly for an answer to a question. Everybody has something, and it is up to you to figure it out. Fairy Tail actually does a really great job at setting this up for so many characters. People make mistakes in life, but people can also go on a journey to find a new purpose in life, and we see that throughout the show. There are so many troubled people who are still trying to figure out an answer who eventually can find the right path with a lot of work. It is really cool to see a show set this up in a really cool way. So one of the biggest criticisms of Fairy Tail is the fact that it over-relies on the power of friendship for all of its major fights, which is a valid criticism if you don't know anything about Fairy Tail. Sure, other series have similar themes to Fairy Tail and also have massive friendship aspects to their sources, but no series has that aspect stronger than Fairy Tail. The reason why the power of friendship works so well in Fairy Tail is because of the relationships we see built outside of the battles. We actually see them be real friends and act like a family would outside of combat. This makes these moments hit really hard, which is the biggest aspect of the story anyway. These moments when that stuff happens are supposed to hit hard and really get your emotions going, because alongside the characters, you are sitting there remembering all the fun and cool moments these characters have gone through as well. The power of friendship in Fairy Tail is really not a negative point to this series, but instead a positive point. So speaking of setting up those emotional moments, I just want to say that Mashima is the GOAT of emotional moments. No one can do emotional moments like he can. Even in a series like Fairy Tail where you know that no one is really going to get hurt or die, somehow those fake out moments still hit incredibly hard. But it's not just those moments. We have really good backstories for both the main characters and some of the antagonists that actually really make you want to come to an understanding of these villains. There's one episode in particular that always messes me up more than any other episode, and that episode is 124. Yes, I know the exact episode. This is not long after the time skip. Lucy is reminiscing about what happened on Tenro Island, and is happy that Kana and Gildarts can finally be a family, where she then starts remembering her own father and is wondering how he's doing. The last time we saw them interact, they weren't on the best of terms, but they were mending their relationship. But the time skip was 7 years, that's a long time, so when Lucy goes to visit her father, she learns that he died not long before she came back. Now, that's sad, but that's not the scene that messes me up. Earlier on in the episode, Lucy is told that she is 7 years late on rent and that she can't get back into her apartment until it's paid, and that was the setup. Because once Lucy comes back to town, her landlord tells her that her rent payments came in alongside a letter. We see 7 years worth of birthday presents from her father. It's the combination of that plus what the letter says that always gets me. This whole episode is a perfect example of what I love about Fairy Tail. It took a character that most of us probably hated and not only redeemed him, but also made him an extremely emotional moment that hits really hard. And that's why Mashima is the go-to emotional moments for me. So when it comes to the original Fairy Tail anime, I love a lot of things about it. However, there is one thing, or really arc, that I would say really holds it back a lot, and that is the Edalus arc. This arc honestly is just not very good. A lot of what they try and do just doesn't really work. The only parts of the arc that I really like are the development of Happy and Carla as characters. All that stuff with the Egg Seeds is cool, but the rest of the arc just really doesn't land for me. Honestly, I think a lot of it is just really cringe and actually hard to watch. But I managed to sit through it all for the sake of this video, so I could tell you how bad it is. But yeah, it's the worst arc in the series by far, and that sucks because it does really actually have a pretty cool concept. On the flip side of that, I went into this rewatch thinking that the ending was going to be bad. I remember when I watched the ending of the anime like 6 years ago or something and not really liking it that much. But honestly, I must have been on something because I thought the ending was great and really reflected what the entirety of Fairy Tail is all about. I was actually surprised that I liked it though. It got me wondering if maybe watching the show weekly hurts my experience of it, but who knows. But yeah, I think the ending of the story is pretty solid for sure. So with that being said, there's one thing I want to talk about that I'm still really disappointed in, and that's Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest. When I saw that this season was coming out, I was so excited. I love Fairy Tail, and it has been 5 years since the last time I watched anything Fairy Tail related, but after watching it, I was so disappointed. I don't really know what it is about Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, but it just feels so soulless in comparison to the original, and that may be because Mashima is balancing so much right now, especially with his main focus being Eden Zero, but this just doesn't really feel like Fairy Tail. I still enjoyed some moments from it, and I'm going to continue watching it when more seasons come out, but I was actually really disappointed with it. But honestly, that could also be the fault of JC Staff, who doesn't really have the best track record of acquiring great shows and keeping them good. I hope it gets better in the future seasons because I always root for the best from Fairy Tail since I love it so much. Fairy Tail is a really funny anime and the comedy is pretty funny. There are a lot of ecchi moments in Fairy Tail. Most of them are unfunny and get in the way, but there are also short scenes that don't really linger. There are some other funny moments though. Juvia is a character that is hilarious as hell. Juvia definitely has her more serious moments and actually some of the best moments, but when she isn't engaged in a serious fight, she is just hilarious consistently. But it's not just Juvia, there are other funny moments and characters in the anime. Fairy Tail does a great job at knowing how to balance the comedic moments with its funny and goofy moments. I love the soundtrack in Fairy Tail. There are so many themes in the OST that hit so hard. Honestly, the soundtrack is incredible. Fairy Tail has some great openings as well. There are some that are not so great, but there are also just great ones. Honestly, it is just so hard for me not to love the music. I actually get hyper emotional listening to certain tracks from the anime because they are just so well put together, and I've listened to them a lot so I understand the feels that I'm supposed to get. The soundtrack is incredible and it needs to be listened to. The characters in Fairy Tail are the most important part of the entire story. There are so many prominent characters in the anime that it would take me quite a while to talk about all of them, but one of my favorite things about Fairy Tail anime is that all the main characters actually feel like one giant guild and better yet, one giant family. You can see how they all care for each other. Even when they are constantly getting into arguments over stupid stuff, when push comes to shove, they don't want anything to happen to each other and they will fight to make sure that everyone is safe. Natsu is a great main character. He has that obnoxious energy that a lot of main characters have, but he also is a deeply caring person who fights for his ideals and never gives up until he can show the world what it means to be a fairy tale wizard. Lucy is a good character for the most part. She has great development throughout the series, however my main problem with Lucy is that she is always the butt of the joke, especially when it comes to all of the ecchi scenes. There is not a single other character in this anime that even has half the amount of ecchi scenes that she does. But she is also a deeply caring person who knows when it's time to fight. She believes in her friends and knows that Fairy Tail can overcome anything. Gray is a contender for ecchi scenes, and I would say that he surpasses Lucy, but then I would be lying, because although he's a big part of that joke in the series, they don't really linger on it with him, and it's more just like a passing comment and then it moves on, unlike with Lucy. But Gray is also a great character. Throughout the show, he is having to overcome his feelings of guilt and loss, and that he has to grow to be a better person. At the beginning of the anime, he is more than willing to sacrifice himself for his friends, but by the end, you would never dare see him actually sacrifice himself like that. He does threaten it a few times, but you know he would never actually go through with it. Gray starts off the series as a deeply broken man, but comes out of it as a whole person who has overcome his trauma and has started to heal. Urza is my favorite character in the anime by far. I'm a little partial to those strong female characters, but my favorite thing about Urza is her strong contrast between how she portrays herself and how she actually sees herself. We first see Urza as this strong woman who clearly Natsu and Gray not only have a lot of respect for, but also listen to. We see that she pushes herself for her friends and won't let anything happen to them. She's a stickler for the rules and tries her best to maintain them. She does have a funny side to her, but she doesn't really show it off that much. But most of all, she is a deeply broken person who has a lot of trauma that she has to overcome. Her growth throughout the series of her slowly coming to terms with everything that has happened in her life and helping others who also went through similar things is incredible, and that is why she is my favorite character. To round off the main characters, we have Wendy. Wendy is a great character. She starts off her introduction with a clear lack of self-confidence that persists throughout a large chunk of the show. She is younger than everyone else, but doesn't have that offensive magic, so she is always worried that she is holding everybody back. But in reality, she is extremely powerful and talented. Wendy develops into one of the strongest wizards in the guild who won't give up on a fight if it means that she can protect her friends. Her development throughout the anime is amazing, and I love to see her grow into the woman that she was meant to be alongside the Fairy Tail Guild. Fairy Tail has such a great main cast of characters, and the rest of the characters are awesome as well. It really brings the whole show together. Fairy Tail is still one of my favorite anime to this day. I absolutely love it. I want to see where 100 Year Quest goes despite my disappointment with Season 1. I love Fairy Tail, and I don't think that'll ever change. You're allowed to dislike it because everybody's allowed to be wrong every once in a while, and I know I can be. But in all seriousness, different opinions stir conversation, which is something that I love, so you are definitely allowed to dislike Fairy Tail. But anyway, that was the video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a ton. And if you do decide to join the community, then I guess I'll see you next week with another video. Bye!